I'd like to call the meeting to order, the public meeting. It's now 5:01 p.m. I ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have adoption of the agenda has been moved and seconded with the additions of an email from Stefan Hussan entitled Planning Rationale by S. Hussan for OPA 06 and ZBLA 11-2024, and a copy of the draft presentation to council. Is there any other additions or changes? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I will ask the clerk now to read the public meeting procedures, please.
This is a public meeting to consider amendments to the official plan and amendments to the zoning bylaw under the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended. This act requires that a public meeting be held prior to council passage of any zoning bylaw or official plan amendment. The rights of third parties to appeal decisions to the Ontario Land Tribunal have been restricted under the Planning Act. Only the applicant, the minister, and specified persons, public bodies, and registered owners of lands to which the plan or bylaw will apply and who make submissions at the public meeting or who make written submissions to the municipality before the plan is approved and or bylaw passed will be able to appeal the decision of the municipality of Oliver Punj to the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Thank you. Just a reminder to those who are in the audience, if you have not done it before you came in or when you came in, please sign when you leave so we know who was in attendance at the meeting. Thank you. The first item is the official plan amendment number 6. The official plan amendment number 6 on behalf of Reginald and Jody Rosengren to amend the applicable policies of the Oliver Punj official plan to clearly establish that affordable dwellings are to be encouraged and residential development in the municipality is not restricted by a minimum size of dwelling unit floor area. I would ask the planning department please to read the report as submitted.
Okay. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
For the pub, thank you. For the public, my name is Jeff Port. I'm a registered professional planner, providing consulting planning services to the township of Oliver Punj. And I prepared a planning report on this application. So a little bit of a note about introduction and background to this. This is an application by an individual for an amendment to the official plan in an attempt, from what I can gather, to try to make housing more affordable in the municipality, which is a commendable thing to do. And in fact, it builds on a number of initiatives that have been ongoing by the province of Ontario and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. There have been a number of pieces of legislation passed over the past couple of years. The More Homes Built Faster Act and the Cutting Red Tape to Build More Homes Act in 2024 have tried to speed up the approval process and make it easier to build affordable housing in Ontario. So the question then becomes, what's in the Oliver Punj official plan when it comes to affordable housing? And in fact, there are a couple of policies in the official plan right now that already provide guidance to the municipality when it comes to affordable housing. And they can be found in section 2.1.3 of the official plan. There are two provisions. One provision is the affordable home ownership housing, and to be encouraged by the municipality, and that's defined as housing for which the purchase price results in annual accommodation costs which will not exceed 30% of the gross annual income for lower moderate income households. It also has another provision called affordable rental housing in the official plan. And this is defined as the least expensive unit for which rent does not exceed 30%, again, of the gross household monthly income for low and moderate income households. So there are already a couple of provisions in the official plan. However, given the other provincial legislation that's been passed, the issue that becomes clear in the application when it comes to affordable housing, that they've kind of hung their hat on, the Rosengrens, is the minimum floor area or unit size, which is typically in the residential zones about 70 square meters. So what we looked at in considering an amendment to the official plan would be a provision in the official plan that would give council some guidance if someone wanted to construct a home that is smaller than, say, 70 square meters, which is the typical minimum floor area right now. So we've come up with some wording, and we believe it's also supported by the provincial policy statement and can be incorporated into the zoning bylaw. And what we're calling it, we're proposing a new section, which would be under 2.1.3, which is affordable residential unit floor area. And what we say there is, in addition to the policies in this plan for secondary dwelling units, because we already have a provision in the official plan and in the zoning bylaw for affordable housing where someone can build a secondary dwelling unit either within an existing dwelling or as a detached dwelling on their lot. Typically, these are also called granny suites. It's to use planning terminology, an aging at home initiative, so the parents can stay with the kids, they can move in with them, we have another unit. So we already have that, but in addition to that, council may consider amendments to the zoning bylaw to reduce that minimum area for residential units, but not without some restrictions. So in considering a reduction of the minimum floor area for residential units, council shall ensure the unit size is in compliance with the Ontario Building Code. There's a minimum floor area in the building code, and in order to issue a building permit, it must be in compliance with all applicable law. So you can't go below that number. Council shall also consider compatibility with other residential uses in the area. So, for example, if we use the term tiny homes for these smaller units that have smaller minimum floor areas, typically tiny homes are fine in rural areas. They're fine also in rural residential areas with larger acreages. But if you're talking about single family dwelling subdivisions, say in R1, also in R2 multifamily zones, sometimes these smaller units are not compatible with the other surrounding units. If you can visualize or imagine a residential subdivision that's R1 where they're all single family dwellings, they average between 1,200 and a couple of thousand square feet. And all of a sudden, you know, on a corner lot, you stick a 400 square foot home. The residents in that particular subdivision typically aren't too happy with that. And that's where the zoning bylaw comes in, and that's where the council has the power to regulate land use. So I think what this policy does is provide council with some guidance so that if someone wants to build a home that is smaller than, say, 70 square meters, they can take some of these criteria into account in deciding if that would be a prudent thing to do, either with a minor variance or a zoning bylaw amendment. So again, the things to consider would be compatibility with the other residential uses in the area, adequate water and sewer services, emergency service access, and comments from the abutting land use on, of course, what their opinion would be with a proposal such as this. So that's in the planning report. We've come up with the wording for a section to be added to the official plan. Again, and I'll wrap this up fairly quickly now, the Township of Oliver Pappoong zoning bylaw, again, it does have a minimum lot area, and this official plan would give guidance if an applicant wanted to build something smaller than, say, the 70 square meters. Generally, affordable housing is encouraged in the PPS, both the former, that's the provincial policy statement, both the former PPS 2020, which the application was made under, and the new provincial policy statement 2024, this official plan provision would be in conformity with that. I don't believe we've had any comments from the public to date. I think Ministry of Mines had no objections. So the summary and planning analysis for me is based on a review of the applicable policy documents. The proposed amendment to the official plan, one, is that it would be consistent with the PPS and provincial legislation. Two, it would not adversely affect current zoning of municipal lands. And the amendment we're proposing would be consistent with the Oliver Papuanj official plan for guidance on affordable housing. And there would be no impact on staff time, printing, postage costs, and the amendment would not result in any additional cost to the municipality. So given the proposed policy addition included in the planning report, we're recommending that that wording be added as official plan amendment number 6.
Excuse me. Thank you, Jeff. I noticed also in our agenda, a letter did come from the Conservation Authority indicating they had no objection to the approval of this application as well. I would ask if the applicant or its representative wishes to make any comments further to the correspondence that we've received.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Good.
This is just so those at home can hear you.
Good evening, Mayor Lucy, councilors, and Jeff. Hello. Just 2 quick comments about the planning report. The 2 policy sections that were referred to affordability and relative to income. The one thing that in my additional correspondence I had mailed out to all of you, the 1-pager which had some here. Yeah, can I borrow that for 2 seconds? It also made reference to policy 223, which refers to building form. So it's not just that you create affordable housing by sticking to the financial targets, but you also in the official plan can encourage affordable building forms. In other words, smaller and more energy efficient housing. So I would like to suggest at this time that in addition to the proposed changes to the official plan that are in this report, that it also include the item at the bottom of the page, which I'll just read for you. So the proposed section 2.3 currently reads promote a built form that addresses the needs of present and future generations. So that we're talking about built form. And I would suggest that this amended also include a change to that wording to say not promote, but encourage. Because promote is like advertising. You're not in the advertising business. You're in the encouraging of construction business. Encourage a built form that addresses the needs of present and future generations, including allowing for construction of more affordable, smaller, and energy efficient dwellings. So I would like to, if a councillor would like to uphold that amendment to the proposed official plan amendment to add this one change to it, I think it would help clarify the intent of the official plan in terms of affordability and building form, just make it read better and make more sense. So I will leave that with you. I appreciate Mr. Port's report. He's cited a fair number of documents that are all in favor of supporting affordable and energy efficient and smaller housing. But I do think it's important that we clarify there's affordability and there's building form. And in this case, want to encourage building form that is also affordable. And that's it for my comments on the official plan amendment. So I'm not sure what your procedure is for introducing a change to the policy to add that, but I'll leave it to you.
Okay, thank you very much for your written comments, which you gave to us earlier so we could read them. And this, we will not be making a decision this evening, so your suggestion about adding this 2.2.3 will be considered by the council at a future date. Okay. Were there any supporters other than the applicants who would like to speak in regards to this application? Oh, sorry.
I'm only up again because emails were forwarded to me and correspondence was forwarded to me. I thought they may or may not have sent it directly to council. So I just want to read a couple of quick items, if I can find them. I know they're here. Okay. This is a letter from Smart Modular Canada, who are a local Oliver Papunge construction company. To whom it may concern, re-affordable housing. It has come to our attention on various occasions that Oliver Papunge has a size regulation on new homes. It has also been brought to my attention the municipality is asking to connect new homes on properties where a house already exists to connect to the new house on the existing septic field system, which is not reasonable or practical, with a very good chance that the field will not have enough capacity to service a new home along with the existing home. As everyone knows, affordable housing is in extremely short supply. Cities and towns across the province and the country are adjusting their bylaws to allow for affordable housing to be built. The world has changed and municipalities must also change as well. I must assume that the tax base would also receive a boost with new homes of any size. I ask you to consider adjusting your bylaws to reflect the changing requirements regarding size limitations and septic fields for new, well-built, efficient homes of all sizes. All of our modular homes are built to Ontario Building Code and inspected by third-party certified organizations such as CSA to assure efficient, quality, and durable homes leave our plant and will stand the test of time. Our small homes, sometimes referred to as tiny homes, are built the same way as any other home and are not anything like ones being built on trailers. They are meant to be permanent, four-season buildings to house people far into the future. I am more than willing to meet with council to discuss this matter in more depth. Respectfully, Bill Bolton, President, CIO, Smart Modular Canada, locally. This is another email from Norfab Construction. And this is from Bev Strachan. Good morning. We at Norfab Homes feel that tiny homes are essential to all areas and towns to allow people to downsize and still live on their own. Some people want to retire and cannot look after a big home. There are so many reasons to allow tiny homes in Oliver Papunge. It used to be a stigma, but tiny homes have evolved and become an important part of the housing market. Then I just got these today from the Rosengrens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 letters of support. I'll read off the names. I'll read one and then the rest of it is just the names. Albert Brookelman, a taxpayer of Oliver Papunge, are in favor of getting rid of the minimum square foot bylaw. I support the application to get rid of the minimum square footage that is being discussed at the public meeting of December 10th. I also support the use of tiny homes as a primary residence in Oliver Papunge. So that's Albert Brookelman. This is Ralph Rosengren. This is Dustin I'm not sure. I can't read it. Burstenby. Susan Poland, Deborah Alderrice, Beverly Kingston. All of these are taxpayers. Shirley Robillard, Marie Hamilton, Gord Parsons. Now, I will just pass these to you to keep for the file.
Please give it to. Carrie, please, so we have them
And-
in our files.
That's all I wanted to add in terms of supporting correspondence regarding the official plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in support of this application? Please come forward, state your name.
Sorry, it's Reg Rosengren. I'm the applicant. Those names, if you notice them, are the major players in this because they're our neighbors. And our neighbors are in agreement with it. So for the community, for all this sort of stuff that you guys are saying, if it's good for them, aren't they the community? That's all the people along River Road down by us and where the tiny home is going. And they all are in favor of it. There's other people in there that I didn't get a chance to get to them, but they are in favor of it also. So it's just not there. These are all different people. Not all of them are on River Road, but the majority of them are on River Road. Okay? And my name isn't in there, even though I am neighbor to 500.
Mhm. Yes, it's on the application, it's noted.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this application? Yes. Just state your name as well, please.
One of the co-applicants, Jody Rosengren. This letter basically just says you are strongly supportive of the proposed relief from the current tiny home minimum size in Alvaro Papunj. And this, the people that are supporting that is Tyler Muskalik, Jamie Hogg, Calvin Elmgren, Amy Marie, Chloe Jeanette Bailey, Daniel Miller, Mata Lalu, Marcy Gertola, Robin De Bruin. Just getting the names, sorry. De Bruin, Stu Johnson, James Kirk, Jerry Lynn Towell, Eddie Edison, Caitlin Kruk, Carolyn Hughes, Jade Marie Holden, Angelica Tosier Moffett, Arlene Green, Raya Tito, Ben Posthuma, Madison Freeman, Joy Bridgewater, Kira Caputo, Terry Homer, Kelsey, I forget the last name, but they're the owners of the Telstar Motel, Karen Melanchuk, Desiree McGarr, Maxine McCulloch, Karen Duncan, Angie Main, Pam Heffron, Howard Harima, Vera McDonald, Tina Tenkala, Chris Days, Bonnie Kangas, Dennis Thrush, Cindy Michelle, Monica May, RB Newhouse, Julia Miles, Jody Nicole, Sarah Elizabeth, Tyler Mosalek, Jamie Hogg, Calvin Almgren. And I believe that's all.
Is there some way that you can print that out, please, and send it to us so it's in our records?
Certainly I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak for this application? Is there anyone here that has an objection to this application and would like to speak? You have an objection? Okay. No one? Okay. Is there any questions that council have of the planner? Jeff is still online. Councillor Viss?
Yes, Jeff, I have a question on the report summary. Item number 2, will not adversely affect the current zoning of municipal land. What do you mean by that? That can be taken any which way, and I need to have a little more clarification because I'm going to be voting on it sometime, and I'd like to know exactly what you mean by that.
Well, it doesn't, yeah, this amendment doesn't, in an active way, change any of the zones in the zoning bylaw whatsoever. What it does is it adds a policy for council to consider when individuals like the ones we've seen here at the public meeting want to come forward and build a home that is smaller than the minimum floor area permitted in the zoning bylaw. It provides policy guidance in making a decision on reducing that floor area. Again, either through a zoning amendment or a minor variance. But it doesn't, this policy is to provide council with guidance on making those decisions. It doesn't affect what's in any of those zones in terms of those provisions for floor area or height or even permitted uses whatsoever. So the zoning just stays the way it is right now, but this provides flexibility for council to make decisions, or the Committee of Adjustment to make decisions if you're in that role as a minor variance, which is probably the way to go on this, to reduce that minimum floor area to make it smaller than what it is now, but not smaller than what is required in the Ontario Building Code.
Any other questions?
So it really, it on a day-to-day basis in working with the zoning bylaw, it doesn't really have any impact on it whatsoever until someone comes through the door and wants a building permit to build a unit that is smaller than 70 square meters. Now there's then there would be a mechanism to do that, supported by the official plan.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Question for you, Jeff. If a person had applied for, say this is approved and they have a tiny home on the property, and then they come in for a second dwelling, another tiny home, would that be allowed? And I'm presuming at that point then that both homes would have to be connected to the same well and septic field as the provisions of our zoning bylaw?
Right, so that's where the provisions in both the official plan and the zoning bylaw for the construction of secondary dwelling units kick in. Right now, if they're two small homes, then likely the secondary dwelling unit, of course, would not be housed in the existing unit. They'll have to build another structure on the property as a detached unit. And the guidance, the policies in our official plan indicate really these are two compatible units on the property for affordable housing purposes. Again, the granny suite or whatever you want to call it. Typically then they would both operate off of the same water and sewer system, but they would be separate units. And again, part of that also is around the policies of aging in place. When our parents get a little older, they want to stay with the property, and there's a place, again, it's commonly called a granny suite or whatever you want to call it, but typically they do share the same services. And the reason for that is, especially with bigger rural lots, if you put a secondary dwelling unit on it and you space it out and it's well away from the main dwelling unit, and it has its own well and it has its own septic field, what you're doing there is setting yourself up inherently to split that lot in two. And we don't like to do that. We like that to be a separate process when it comes to an application for consent to sever a lot. We don't want the secondary dwelling unit to be an incremental step in that process. It's for a completely different purpose, which is to provide, again, additional affordable housing on site, typically for a family, not to sever a lot. So that's why we like them hooked to the same well and septic field. And of course, my final point would be, in constructing a secondary dwelling unit as a detached dwelling unit on the property, the health unit has to, you need health unit approval to make sure that septic field is of an adequate size to be able to accommodate the additional flows.
Any further questions? As there are none, we have now heard comments both for and report from the planner. There is nothing else that will be discussed on this item this evening. It will come back to council at a future date, plus the suggestion by the applicant to add that one paragraph, so that will be discussed at a future time. We now have a zoning bylaw amendment, ZBLA 11-2024. This application is on behalf of Jody Rosengren to do a site-specific rezone on the subject property legally described as Papoonj Concession 8, south of the Cam River, Part Broken Lot 32, RP 55R14207, Part 2, in the municipality of Oliver Papoonj, known locally as 500 River Road, to permit a mobile home dwelling that is smaller than the permitted minimum square footage. We again ask the planning department or the planner, Jeff, please to report on, submit a report on this application.
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, this is an application for a zoning bylaw amendment by the Rosengrens to permit a mobile home on a piece of property that is zoned rural. Now, I have to admit, I was a little puzzled that these two applications came in together, and we've processed them together. But I want to make it very clear to council and to the public at this point in my review of this particular rezone application. This is a completely separate application, unrelated to the official plan amendment we just discussed. I know they've kind of been lumped together in the planning rationale that was submitted to the municipality, but I want to make it very clear that my planning report addresses the zoning bylaw amendment to permit a mobile home on a rural piece of property, completely separate from the issue we just discussed. So that's my background information. So the proposal is to, okay, so the subject property is described as part of lot 32, concession A, Papoonge, being part 2 on 55R 14207. That's the legal description of the subject property. The application was made to permit a mobile home on the subject property, because right now no zone in Oliver Papoonge permits, no, I shouldn't say no zone, only a mobile home park zone in the zoning bylaw permits a mobile home right now in the Oliver Papoonge zoning bylaw. So this is a rural zone, and actually there's an environmental protection designation as well on the subject property. It is 2.2 hectares in size. So, you know, it's around 5 acres or so, 130 meters of frontage, and an average 167 meters in depth. It's privately serviced by water and sewer services, and access to the property is on a municipally owned and maintained road, which is River Road. I did put in a definition of a mobile home in my planning report. A definition of a mobile home is this is a general definition: a transportable dwelling unit suitable for long-term occupancy. The keyword is transportable. These are not permanent dwellings. And typically they do have wheel carriages under them as well. So designed to be transported on its own wheels or by other means, and arriving at a site ready for occupancy apart from the incidental accessories and mechanical connections, such as location on foundation supports, anchoring arrangements, and connection to utilities such as water and sewer. So these are, by definition, mobile homes. So that's what we're dealing with now. And the request is to put one of these on a piece of property is zoned rural and environmental protection. The adjacent land uses around this subject property are rural residential, kind of large acreage rural residential use, mainly single family dwellings to the east, west, and south, along with some limited agricultural land uses as well. And the Kaministiquia River borders the property to the north. So I did include in my planning report, the official plan designation is rural, and I've included in my planning report a number of uses that are permitted in the rural zone, and a mobile home is not one of them. I'm sorry, it's the official plan has an environmental protection designation as well, abutting the Kaministiquia River. I've included the provisions there for any construction. Well, basically you can't build any residential, any residence within the environmental protection zone. I also included in my planning report, there is a section in the Oliver Papoonge official plan on mobile home parks. There are a couple of mobile home parks in Oliver Papoonge, and what your official plan basically says is these will be allowed to continue. So mobile homes within these mobile home parks are a legal use according to the zoning bylaw and the official plan, but they have to be within this land use designation. There are actually provisions in the official plan for, and Carrie and I have worked on this a little bit, for the expansion of these mobile home parks under certain conditions, and the conditions are set out in the official plan. So 2 points. One is Oliver Papoonge does allow mobile homes. Two, there are legal mobile home parks in which these units can occupy on what are called units or sites. And within the existing mobile home parks within the municipality, they can expand and add additional unit sites, providing they have adequate water, sewer, not too much traffic. It's okay on a highway entrance if it's a provincial highway, and the normal planning criteria that one would use for the expansion of any particular use. I included in the planning report the zoning provisions for the mobile home park land use within the zoning bylaw. And again, these are for mobile home parks, and there are areas and minimum area and frontages. I just included them in the planning report. I did include some provisions from the PPS 2024, which basically outlines what types of development is encouraged to occur in the rural areas of municipalities. And a couple of provisions I included in the PPS in the protection of water systems, because it does have that environmental protection official plan designation. The important point at the end of the day is that while the provincial policies provide direction on how development should proceed on rural lands, they provide little or no direction when it comes to mobile homes as a permitted use. So we're not really getting much direction from the PPS. We're getting very specific direction from the Oliver Papoonge official plan, which basically says mobile home parks are permitted, and the existing ones can be expanded, and this is where mobile homes should go. So my summary and planning analysis on this application to amend the zoning bylaw to permit a mobile home in a rural area, that would not be in compliance with the official plan, because what your official plan says is that mobile homes should go within the existing mobile home parks. And those existing mobile home parks can be expanded to accommodate additional mobile homes beyond what they have right now. Compliance with zoning bylaw. Oliver Papoonge zoning bylaw does not permit mobile homes in any zone except the mobile home zone, which is the mobile home parks that are within the municipality. So the zoning does not permit the rural zone does not permit a mobile home, but the mobile home park zone does. Finally, compatibility with surrounding land uses. Surrounding land uses are primarily single-family dwellings on large rural lots. New residential development should be compatible with existing residential development. Typically, in my world, over the last 35 years of planning, usually mobile homes do not typically fall into this category. My final observation, if you will, is that, and this is both for council and the public, we need to remember that mobile homes are different from pre-manufactured homes or park model homes. When we talk about park model homes, which are CSA approved, that would be a permitted use in the zoning bylaw. Pre-manufactured homes that are assembled off-site and then put together either in two big pieces or in components, they are a permitted use in the zoning bylaw. So park model homes and pre-manufactured homes are fine. And the problem, what I've learned over the years, is people sometimes mix up pre-manufactured and park model homes with mobile homes when they are, in fact, two very different creatures, which is why I included the definition of a mobile home in the planning report. So what the official plan is telling us and what the zoning bylaw is telling us here is that there is a place in Oliver Papoonge for mobile homes. And in fact, there's a zone for mobile homes. And the planning policies say that is where mobile homes should go. In a rural area, mobile homes are not permitted. However, park model homes, pre-manufactured homes, or typical single-family dwellings or multifamily dwellings are permitted. So if you follow the breadcrumbs of the official plan policies and the zoning bylaw, it leads you to really one conclusion, and that the application for a zoning amendment to permit a mobile home in a rural area should be refused, because there are other places in the municipality where that would be a much more appropriate use. So that's my recommendation on this particular application.
Thank you. I have noted that there are two reports or two letters, one that came from the Lakehead Regional Conservation Authority and the other one from the Regional Land Use Geologist of Northwest Ontario Region. Neither of them have a comment against this application, I believe. I'm just checking to see if the Lakehead Conservation.
Sorry,
There was-
there's no objection. No.
No objection on either one of them. Okay. I will ask if the applicant wishes to make further comment on this application other than what we've received. Stefan San is back up again.
I'm back. Good evening, Mayor Lucy and councillors. Okay. I don't want to spend 10 minutes going through the minutia of the planning report. I want to make 5 sort of planning policy points about making decisions about land use planning. And I also want to then talk to you about, as a just resident, normal, regular guy, and the kinds of concerns people have. So if you bear with me, I'm going to try and do that simply and clearly, I hope. And I'll welcome any questions you might have, because, okay. 5 planning points. Smaller dwellings will only add to the municipal tax base. Period. This application, any other application. When I read the report about the previous application that the Rosengrens had made, one of the fundamental reasons it was denied was that, oh, this is going to hurt the tax base, or something to that effect. And basically, no. Every new dwelling is automatically a notable addition to the tax base and to the revenue of the municipality, period. Anyway, secondly, the dwelling will be similar to many existing undersized dwellings. There are all sorts of homes in Oliver Papoonge that are under 700 square feet. The dwelling next door is less than 600 square feet. I believe that's what they told me. There are oodles of existing undersized dwellings according to the zoning bylaw in Oliver Papoonge. This would be similar to one of those. So it's not like undersized dwellings are a brand new phenomena. They're there. They exist, just like this place would exist. Third point. It's wrong to conclude you shouldn't change the zoning bylaw because the zoning amendment doesn't match the zoning bylaw. That's the whole purpose of a zoning amendment, is to update your bylaw to reflect new times, new needs, the desires and the needs of residents. That's why the Planning Act allows zoning bylaw amendments. So to say this amendment isn't in line with the zoning bylaw is not appropriate. It's simply not a planning question. The question becomes how do you deal with the zoning amendment to protect the concerns of the municipality? And there are complete, legitimate, valid concerns about type of dwelling, character of area, and so on. And those are there to do it. But to say, no, we shouldn't change the zoning bylaw because we shouldn't change the zoning bylaw is absolute nonsense. I'm sorry. Now, to say that Oliver Papoonge zoning bylaw doesn't allow mobile homes, well, it does in the mobile home park. It does in other places as well. A mobile home dwelling is permitted as an accessory dwelling in the AG general agriculture zone. specifically section 3.2.2, that allows it. There have already been site-specific zoning amendments in the zoning bylaw to say a mobile home is permitted. I think it was one on Candy Mountain Road or something like that. I can find you the exact reference. So it's not a brand new thing. This is mobile homes don't have to be locked into just mobile home parks. They can be permitted elsewhere. The zoning bylaw clearly envisions it in the agricultural zone. Okay, so to say it's not permitted all over the place is not true. It is permitted in other locations and it has been permitted site specifically, and this would be no different than any other site specific amendment. Okay. This is all policy issues. How do you make planning decisions about these things? What do you look at? To me, when I read the planning report, the fundamental conclusion was it's not compatible. The fundamental conclusion came without any evidence or analysis. What are you comparing compatibility? Are you comparing compatibility of size, of lot, of building form, of structure, of materials, of view from the street? No, zero, nothing. To come to that conclusion without any evidence is not good planning. But let's take a look at the official plan and go to section 3.2, which is compatibility criteria. Fundamental purpose of section 3.2 is that compatibility is required so you don't harm your next door neighbor. You don't harm it by appearance or by excessive numbers of residents or numbers of cars or traffic or it's all about harm. And the compatibility analysis, if you go through all of the criteria in the official plan, this zoning amendment meets it. It complies with all of that. So the question of compatibility, the conclusion that was arrived at in the report is not supported by any evidence. I suggest to you that the evidence is that if you ran through all those compatibility criteria in the official plan, it would fly with colors. I suggest to you as well that even if you measured it against the brand new suggested criteria that were discussed in official plan amendment number 6, it would meet those as well. Compatibility in terms of no impact on neighbors. And in fact, as you have heard from the Rosengrens and have you seen from the submissions, the neighbors are in support. There's certainly no negative impact perceived by any neighbors. Okay. The 5th planning policy point, because that was about compatibility, is that the application is to amend the official plan to meet the needs of all of our Baboon's residents. To remove the minimum floor area, we talked about it already. It's good for people who live in Oliver so they can have the kind of houses that fit. Okay. I mean, it's a little weird to say in the report, you can only have a large house. It's almost like saying everyone must wear shoes that are too large. Like, it doesn't fit. If a house that's smaller fits, let them have it. They're the residents of all of Baboon's that want these kind of houses. And so to amend the zoning bylaw to allow those is appropriate on a site-specific basis. You don't amend everything all at once, all of a sudden, but certainly you can consider applications on a site-specific basis, and this one would meet it. Now, I do have one policy recommendation that would, I think, satisfy the needs of the municipality. And that is that, yes, in this case, the restriction on minimum lots, a minimum floor area should be removed on this site. That's fine. And a mobile home dwelling should be permitted. Yes, it should. But only so long as it complies with the Ontario Building Code. The Ontario Building Code establishes what's needed for health and safety of residents. It sets the minimum standards. It's sort of like, when I first saw this report, I thought, oh, they don't think it's compatible. They think it's ugly. And they don't really want it, and they're looking for some weird wording that will allow them to deny it. Well, it's like smart cars. I think smart cars are ugly, but no, people want smart cars because they fit. They're the size, they're the energy efficiency that people want and need. And so they're legal. They comply with the Highway Traffic Act, and they're perfectly good vehicles. Sure, some people would say, I don't like seeing them in all over Baboon's on the highways, but it's what people need and want. Same story here. A mobile home dwelling, if it's up to the Ontario Building Code, is the size that fits. It meets the needs of the residents. Residents want those kind of things. So from a policy point of view, I don't think you can say no to these things because a vague word of compatibility, when in fact, if you ran through the compatibility criteria, it would fly. So those are my policy discussions. Yeah, I mean, it's called a spade a spade. Someone might say, geez, we don't want these ugly things in all of our baboons. But that's like smart cars. You don't want these ugly smart cars on the highway, but they're good and they fit. And if they're done right, and if they meet the rules of the OBC, they satisfy the needs of the residents. And you heard tonight that there are many residents that would like be able to have smaller homes. And of course, all those residents want those homes to be safe. They want them to comply with the Ontario Building Code so that they can feel comfortable if they're in there or their senior parents are in there, or if the kids are in there living as an independent dwelling unit, that they're safe. Everybody wants that. And so I'm suggesting to you that to support this amendment is in fact appropriate and good planning. It's consistent with the objectives of the provincial policy statement. It's consistent with the official plan, which even the current wording of the official plan, which is the fundamental, the big important line in the OP is provide planning that allows for the development of housing that meets the needs of current and future residents. That's exactly what this amendment would do on one particular site. It's not changing the entire municipality. It's on one particular site and it makes sense. Now, the final comments I would make is real compatibility measures. Real compatibility measures are, well, is it outrageously big or outrageously small compared to the neighbors? Is it outrageously active or outrageously impactful compared to the neighbors? It's not. It's the same size as the neighbor next door, or a little bit smaller, actually. It's doesn't look very strange from the road. It's sheltered by trees. It's a far distance on a large lot. It's a far distance from other buildings. It's very compatible. And in fact, if you use the current official plan policies, which relate to secondary dwelling units, it would be perfectly okay as a secondary dwelling unit if it was attached to the same septic field. So I'm generally saying that it makes sense to approve this amendment. There is no evidence of incompatibility whatsoever provided other than a statement of that. And in fact, it would go further to meeting your objectives of providing for the housing that the residents need and want at a suitable location. And this is a suitable location for this particular amendment. Might not be suitable for anywhere else, but it's particularly suitable for this one spot. Those are my comments for tonight. If you have any questions, I'll sit here. If not, I'll get out.
Okay. Well, we'll move to the next ask then.
Okay.
Others, if they'd like to speak, please. Is there any other supporters that would like to come forward and speak on this application? Yes, if you'd like to come forward, please.
I just have a quick question.
Certainly.
I have a question, Jody Rosenman. I just am curious when or how it was changed to mobile home from tiny home. Because it says here, permit a mobile home dwelling, and that's in the report, municipal officers, and it says permit a mobile home dwelling, and then on A, and then in B, it says permit a mobile home as a land use. So I'm just curious how that was changed to mobile home when the wording was tiny home.
In the application?
Yeah. On the
Okay.
application, does it say tiny home or mobile home? It says mobile home in the application?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mobile home dwelling, it says in the application.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Reg Rosengren again.
Mhm.
Just a couple clarifications, if you don't mind. The CSA that you talked about, that if it has it in the mobile home, then it's permissible, correct? That's what you said? Did I misunderstand that?
What I said was, I gave the typical definition of a mobile home. Okay, that's the key, not whether it's CSA approved or not. Whether it meets the definition of a mobile home. And, you know, I've dealt with mobile homes for 10s, 20, 30 years. And it's very clear what the difference is between a mobile home and a park model home and a pre-manufactured home. So it's the mobile home as defined, you know, as addressed in the official plan and as addressed in the zoning bylaw, where the official plan does allow mobile homes in Oliver Papunj in mobile home parks. The zoning bylaw does permit mobile homes. My dog. In the mobile home residential zone. So they are permitted. And we use that definition to define what a mobile home is. Whether it's CSA approved or not, doesn't have a bearing on defining a mobile home.
Yeah, but
In fact, I would go further. One would hope that the mobile homes that are permitted, that are in the mobile home park, if a new one is to go in, it would have to be CSA approved for safety reasons. But it can go in the mobile home park.
yeah, but what I understood, that's why I asked the question, is you said that the park model that are CSA approved are acceptable.
Yes, because they're not a mobile home.
Okay, so that's why I'm trying to figure out if we have a CSA approved in that dwelling that has been in Oliver Papunj for over 25 years. I didn't hear you say that in your statement and your background, that dwelling has been in Oliver Papunj for over 25 years.
Legally?
Just come to.
Has it occupied the property legally for that length of time?
Well,
Is it legal? All a CSA designation does is designate whether it's safe for human habitation or not. It doesn't say that it's illegal use. All a CSA sticker does is indicate that in order to get a building permit, if it's CSA approved, then it would meet the requirements of the Ontario Building Code. That's simply for safe human habitation. It doesn't then make that structure legal in any zone. All it does is make it safe for human habitation.
Okay, so then.
Which is why if you wanted a new mobile home in a legal mobile home park, it would have to be CSA approved to go to a piece of property where it is a permitted use.
But if it was a park model, it could go on a rural residential.
Correct, because a park model is not a mobile home. It's on a permanent foundation.
A park model.
Correct.
Okay.
It's basically a 3-season pre-manufactured home.
Okay. And
They're
then.
quite common.
Yeah, we have one. The other one is you kept saying that that lot is conservation authority. And
There's an environmental protection designation on the property in the official plan.
And the place where the tiny home, mobile home, whatever you want to call it, is that in the environmental protection area?
It's a split designation in the official plan. And I don't have exact dimensions. I don't know if you could get it off the OP, but the lands that abut the Kaministiquia River have an official plan designation of EP, and the lands that abut River Road have an official plan designation of rural.
Yeah, so
if there's a dwelling permitted, it would have to be in the rural portion of, it'd have to be back off away from the Kaministiquia River and not in the EP designation.
And it isn't, because the Lakehead Conservation Authority, I had the pleasure of having them out to do their stuff. That's why I wanted to clarify that we're not in that zone that you keep referring to that is drastic. Because, yeah, we shouldn't be in that zone.
That's not the issue here.
Yeah, but you keep bringing it up.
That's because it has to be in my planning report because I looked at your subject property on the official plan maps and they were the designation, so I have to put that in my planning report.
Okay, and so you can also put in there as an amendment, say that that area that that they're talking about is acceptable to be putting a rural residential.
I've already indicated in the planning report that there's also a rural land use designation and that residential development there would be acceptable. But I also included in my planning report that a mobile home would not be a permitted use in the rural zone. That's what the planning documents say.
Okay, and then on page 19 of your report, it said that as a taxpayer, I'm looking at it, and it says that the only expense would be extra paper staff allocation. Is your fee in there by any chance?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
On page 19. There's
Of what?
On the report?
Not of my zoning report. I don't think there is a
I don't
19
have
page.
any of the things, but I read it on my phone, page 19. If you look at page 19.
There aren't 19 pages in my in this my planning report on your zoning application.
That's for the official plan.
Yeah, well, we're not
Amendment.
talking about that now. We're talking about your zoning
Oh,
application.
okay, sorry. I mixed the two up.
Yes, that meeting's over.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you. Is there any other person that would like to speak as a supporter of this application? Is there any person in the audience who would like to speak as an objector to this?
Sorry,
Yes.
would it be possible for me to return for 30 seconds
Yeah.
in terms of the support question for clarification? The definition in the report of mobile home park is, as Jeff said, a general definition. It's not the definition in the Oliver Papunj zoning bylaw. A completely different definition. That's fine. In terms of dwelling units, the zoning bylaw does define roughly half a dozen, maybe a little bit more, different types of dwelling units. The two that Jeff referred to, pre-manufactured home and park home, are not in the Oliver Papunj zoning bylaw. I don't know why we're talking about them. They're not in your bylaw. However, it does raise the question of when is a mobile home no longer a mobile home? When is a pre-manufactured home no longer a pre-manufactured home? Pre-manufactured home comes in on wheels to the site.
No, it doesn't.
Right across the street
doesn't.
from me, it came in on wheels to the site.
No,
It came in on a chassis.
they come in on a trailer.
Yes, a
In
trailer.
two parts, in one part or two parts,
Yes,
and then they are assembled.
correct.
They don't come in on wheels. A mobile home comes in on wheels on its own.
It comes in on a trailer. It's
So
lifted
let's
on the trailer.
let's not mislead council here. Let's be very clear on what a mobile home is and what a mobile home is not.
What I'm getting at is it comes in on wheels. The wheels are taken off. It's taken off the trailer and by a crane and lifted onto a site, onto a permanent foundation.
No, that is not the definition of a mobile home. It is
I
not on
know,
a
and I didn't
permanent
say
foundation.
modular home. I'm talking about modular homes right now,
Yeah,
like the
that-
one across the street from me. Okay,
Yeah, that's how a modular home is put together. They're brought in on a trailer. There is a permanent foundation already constructed ahead of time. It is then placed on that permanent foundation and hooked up accordingly. And then at the end of the day, it looks just like any other residential dwelling typically.
And one other kind of residential dwelling, I know in City of Thunder Bay for sure, is what's called a double wide mobile home.
It's
And
not a double wide mobile home. It's a double wide pre-manufactured home and it comes in two pieces. And those two pieces are placed on a permanent foundation and they are then assembled together on site. That's why it's a
Again,
double wide.
I don't want to interrupt you, but I can find a copy of the City of Thunder Bay zoning bylaw where it specifically defines double wide mobile homes.
Okay,
and
then in that case, the problem is it's still a mobile home.
My point,
whether it's single or double.
I don't want to interrupt you again, but what I'm getting at is these kinds of new homes, modular home, pre-manufactured home, they come in, they're delivered to a site. In some cases, like double wide mobile homes, they come in on their own chassis and they are placed on a permanent foundation.
But that's not what this application is for.
I'm trying to explain a point of policy consideration, which is when is a definition applicable or not applicable? And the whole purpose of this question is to talk about what is the final product. The final product is a dwelling on a permanent foundation. That's exactly what these folks want to put on this site. They don't want it to be on wheels and be carted off next week or next year or 5 years from now. They want to put.
Then why did they call it a mobile home in the application?
Because
a mobile home is
the
a different creature. You're trying to make a silk's purse out of a sow's ear here. A mobile home is a mobile home. A park model home is a park model home. A pre-manufactured home is a pre-manufactured home. They are three different creatures in the planning world.
And Jeff, I agree with you. We need to be very careful about the words we use. And as far as Oliver Papunj is concerned, we should use the words in the Oliver Papunj zoning bylaw, not ones from general locations or terms that aren't even in the bylaw. However, I agree with you that this is a significant issue. It's a modern issue. When is a mobile home no longer a mobile home? When is a pre-manufactured home no longer pre-manufactured? When is it a single attached dwelling? When it's on a permanent foundation. And that's what these folks are going to do. Put the thing on a permanent foundation.
Well,
and in the zoning bylaw amendment, you can specify.
Well,
yes,
then they should have a chat. Then they should have a chat with the chief building official. I'm sure he's well versed in mobile homes and foundations and all that stuff. And then I don't even know why we're here.
I don't want to interrupt you again, but the information that I have from client is that they have already talked with the chief building official and about permanent foundations, and that's exactly what the intent is here. But you may not have been aware of that, so I understand, and that's why that's not in the report. It would have been helpful if it was. But in any case, what I'm trying to get at here is not how we get there, it's what we get to. We get to a permanent dwelling on a foundation that's smaller than what the zoning bylaw allows. And what I'm trying to.
That's not what this application is for.
You've made your point.
And what I'm trying to suggest is a reasonable clarification of the use of definitions, and we should focus on what is the final outcome of this application, and is that application then consistent with all the desires and rules that we have for the municipality? And I suggest to you it is, because it's not intended to be wheeled off next week. Thank you.
Well, if it were, then we wouldn't be here.
Okay, now, is there any other person that would like to, is there any person that would like to, from the audience, indicate an objection to this application? Council, do you have any questions of the planner in regards to this application? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you, Jeff. Just looking for a clarification. On page 1 of your report, it indicates that the subject property is located at 510 River Road. I believe this property is 500 River Road, if I'm not mistaken.
I was a little confused myself. I mean, that doesn't diminish the planning report at all. There were 2 addresses listed in the application. I don't know, Carrie may have it there. I believe one was a residence and one was the subject property, but I think there was both a 500 and a 510 listed in the application. So I kind of had to pick one of them.
Okay. Now it says, are there any buildings or structures proposed for the subject land? And it says no. And then the next question, I'm sorry, this is page 29 of our council agenda, or page 6 of the application. It says, If yes, indicate the type of building or structures and setback height and dimensions of each of the building or structures. It says proposed building type is a mobile home dwelling, 1 story, which works out to 360 square feet. It's my understanding that the home is already existing.
No, that's an interesting point. I had a chat with the planning department about that because in my planning report, I listed the property as vacant. And then, of course, it was brought to my attention later that in fact there is a mobile home on the property. However, legally, the property is vacant because that structure is not legal. So there's an illegal structure on the subject property, and they're trying to get this amendment. So and then make the existing unit on the property, which is illegal, legal.
Any further questions?
So I have to list it as vacant only because legally, the structure that's on that now is not there legally. So, you know, we treat it as a vacant lot because that building is not supposed to be there.
Okay, any further questions?
If the 2 parcels were merged back to 1 parcel, could this be a tiny home on that lot, even
No.
though it has a septic field and well?
No, because it is a mobile home, which is not
Okay.
permitted.
Okay.
If we go back to the previous OPA, right? If the lots were merged and they wanted to build a secondary dwelling unit that could get a building permit that was either a pre-manufactured home or a park model home or a custom stick-built home, they would get a building permit because it would be legal.
Okay. That's right. Okay. Any other questions of the planner? From council? Okay, we thank everyone that has come out this evening for this application. We have one more. It's from Tom Clement. It's a zoning bylaw amendment. It's ZBLA 13-2024 on behalf of Tom Clement to rezone 2 parcels of land legally described as Papoonj Concession 2 north of the Cam River, Part Lot 11, RP 55R 10193, Parts 1 and 2, and Papoonj Concession 2 north of the Cam River, Part Lot 11, RP 55R 10193, Parts 3 and 4, from open space to rural. I would ask the planning department if they would have any comment or read their comments on this application, please.
Thank you. So as you mentioned, this application is seeking to rezone 2 parcels of land from open space to rural to permit a residential build in 2025. The subject property is located just west of the intersection of Highway 130 and Highway 1117, east of the old way station. The subject properties are 3.03 hectares and 5.08 hectares in area consecutively, with frontage and an entrance on Highway 1117 with a depth of approximately 200 meters. Subject property will be serviced by private water and septic services, and the present use of the property is vacant. Subject properties are abutted by rural lands to the north, east, and west, with additional open space lands to the south. Highway 1117 borders the property to the north. The official plan designation of the properties is natural resources and environmental protection. It's the intention of the natural resources land use designation to permit a range of uses compatible with the rural area, to make use of the natural resources and assets of the rural area in order to accommodate economic growth in the commercial and industrial sector. The environmental protection designation applies to land considered environmentally significant or where lands are considered unsuitable for building purposes and require special attention to avoid loss of life and property damage. Rural uses are compatible within the natural resource designation, and there is sufficient buildable land outside of the environmentally protected lands to accommodate a proposed residential development on the west parcel. Further investigation would be required to determine if construction would be permitted on the east parcel. Both parcels subject to this application are currently zoned open space, which does not permit any residential uses. The application was submitted prior to the new PPS 2024 taking effect, so it was reviewed under policy, PPS 2020. The key provisions of PPS 2020 as they relate to this application are the sections that provide direction on how development should proceed in order to protect the environment in rural areas and lands in municipalities, and include section 1.1.4 being rural areas in municipalities and section 1.1.5 being rural lands in municipal areas. We did receive agency comments from the Ministry of Mines and the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority. Ministry of Mines indicated no concerns and comments were forwarded to the applicant. The Lakehead Region Conservation Authority supports the partial rezoning of the west lot outside of the floodplain from open space to rural. They recommend the floodplain portion remain zoned open space. The LRCA does not support at this time the rezoning of the east lot from open space to rural, as access and egress to the separate lot cannot be confirmed due to no road frontage to the north and access to the south through the floodplain. If access can be provided via Highway 1117, staff may support the partial rezoning of the portion outside of the floodplain to rural. Despite multiple attempts to speak with the MTO and get comments on this file, be that it fronts on Highway 1117, staff was unable to do so. It is recommended that a decision be deferred until such time as comments from the MTO have been received, as a change of use would be required for the existing entrance, which, if denied by MTO, would prevent the lands from being used for residential development. So in summary, the subject property in the application has two land use designations, natural resources and environmental protection. The Oliver Papoonge official plan sets out the policies for development in these two land use designations. The proposed amendment would comply with the policies of these designations on the west lot, but not necessarily on the east lot. Compliance with the zoning bylaw, our zoning bylaw permits residential dwellings on lands zoned rural. And compatibility with surrounding land uses. The surrounding land uses are primarily vacant, large rural lots. New residential development is compatible with the existing land uses. Based on a review of the comments received from agencies as well as provincial and municipal documents, administration is recommending that only the portion of the west lands outside of the floodplain be rezoned to rural, with the remainder of the lands remaining open space. However, it would also be wise to defer a decision, again, based on the fact that we do not have MTO comments, which we feel are key to any future development at this location.
Thank you. If the applicant is present, would you like to make any further comments on this application? If not, are there other supporters that would like to speak in regards to this application? Is there any person in the audience that is objecting to this application and would like to speak? Council, do you have any questions of the planner in regards to this application? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I agree with the planner with regard to the entrance. And I think it's that we need to know if there is sufficient frontage on the on a maintained road. And as well, I do have a concern with regard to what appears to be fill that's been brought into that lot. So, but if the application's held, perhaps we could discuss it when the applicant is here. Thank you.
Okay, it is the recommendation of the planning department that we defer it until we get MTO comment, since it abuts MTO highway. We could say yes and they could say no, so that would be better for us to defer this. We will be discussing this property, both the resolution and bylaw, later in the evening, and at the present time, it is the recommendation of the planning department that we defer it until we have comment from the MTO department. I have a resolution to adjourn the meeting, the time being 6:20 p.m. Public meeting. It has been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will now have a 5-minute break before we go into our regular meeting. And again, I ask, if you have not signed, please sign the log as you attended as having attended the meeting, please. Okay, all right. We will now begin our regular meeting. Being 6:05 p.m. I call the meeting to order after the interest. Now we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as submitted. All in favor? Opposed? So, we have deputation this evening from the Thunder Bay Area Food Strategy Group, Sarah and
Courtney.
Courtney. There's only one.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. Sarah and Courtney are here to give us a presentation for the Thunder Bay Area Food Strategy Program. If you'd like to come forward. And if you'd like to push your button there on the microphone so it's green, that means that the people at home, persons at home can also hear when you're speaking. Both on is both on because you're quiet, so. Okay, we'll give it to you then.
Okay, well, thank you. Good evening. Thank you for welcoming us here. Community beautiful Anishinaabe land. My name is Sarah Siska. I'm the coordinator of the Thunder Bay and Area Food Strategy, and I've been working in this capacity since 2023.
And I'm Courtney Strutt. I'm the Emergency Food Plan Coordinator with the Thunder Bay and Area Food Strategy, and I've been in this capacity since 2020.
Yeah, and we're excited to be here tonight to share an update of the work that we've been doing. Thanks in large part to the support that we receive from communities, from yourself. I know it's been several years since the food strategy has actually come and given an update. So a brief overview of what we do is we're a community-driven network that's focused on connecting food and community. Our mission is to enhance the economic, ecological, and social well-being of the Thunder Bay area through collaborative and participatory food systems change. We're guided by the Thunder Bay Food Charter and a strategic plan that focuses on 7 community-identified pillars. You see all of those on the slide. And all of those are approached through an Indigenous food sovereignty and climate justice lens. We bring together a network of over 60 organizations to a common table so that we can work collaboratively to address food security concerns, move towards food sovereignty. And we do this through education, advocacy, research, and network building. We've been recognized provincially and nationally as an influential food policy leader. Our work has and continues to bring significant social and economic benefits to the region. So we're here to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing and to ensure we have your ongoing support to continue working towards these things.
The rural municipalities and townships within the Thunder Bay Census metropolitan area have also had a long-standing history with the Thunder Bay and Area Food Strategy, which began with endorsing the strategy and the Thunder Bay Food Charter in 2014, as well as providing ongoing financial support since that time. Within the strategy, we acknowledge that the majority of the food that Thunder Bay relies on locally is grown within the rural municipalities and townships, and that rural communities have unique needs and opportunities within the food system that are interdependent and separate from the city of Thunder Bay. And we also recognize that there are interconnected and reciprocal relationships within the broader food system between the city and the municipalities. And one of our priorities in the next few years is to focus more on developing these relationships to strengthen our local food system and economy. And the survey that we included in your package is one way that we're hoping to start this process of deeper connection. So some of the highlights from 2024 for us, we were featured in a few provincial annual reports as best practices. So one was the Ontario Ministry of Agriculture and Food and Agribusiness's local food report as a local food success story through procurement. And then we were also featured in Emergency Management Ontario's 2023 community best practice for the emergency food plan. On the emergency food plan, we ratified the second version of that plan, and we just finished conducting our second annual tabletop exercise. That was last week. We've also been sharing information about some of our keystone projects, the report card and the emergency food plan, to various Canadian municipalities, as well as at a national and regional level at conferences. We have also done a lot in some regional procurement efforts, which Sarah will expand on. And we've got our ongoing advocacy and awareness initiatives. This year, we focused on wild game policy and advocacy. We've been expanding our Food Access Coalition, which is a group of over 40 organizations and institutions that deal with chronic food insecurity in our area. And we've also published 2 academic articles, one on the emergency food plan and one on the report card. And then another big focus of ours this year has been incorporation as a nonprofit. So we've been around for over a decade as a community strategy, but we've been housed under other organizations until this time. But we are ready for organizational independence, which is really exciting, and reflects our growth as a community-driven organization and ensures that we'll be well positioned to continue to meet the evolving needs of our region. And so we'd like to just dig a bit deeper into a few of our keystone projects that we feel are relevant to all of you.
So one of our ongoing projects is, or Keystone Projects, is the Community Food System Report Card. We've launched the most recent one in January of 2023, and this is an ongoing project that we aim to release a new one every 5 years. The first was 2015, the second was meant to be 2020, but things happened. So the purpose is to provide a snapshot of our region's food systems, challenges and opportunities, and then use that as a way to provide direction for how we can build a more equitable and sustainable food system. So this is part of a long-term commitment to track our challenges and opportunities and provide a baseline that we can use to grow and develop. As you can imagine, it's a huge undertaking to compile something like this. We relied heavily on a very broad network of collaborators, and we created and updated about 119 community identified data points or indicators. So all these graphics come from the report itself. It's available online, but for example, we can see that while we have about 140 or 150 farms in the region, and they brought in just over $30 million in farm cash receipts for 2022, but 48% of the local farms brought in under $25,000 a year in revenue, which would amount to maybe part-time work paid at a living wage, which for this region is over $20. So having data on these economic realities helps drive actionable steps to build a more resilient food system, like procurement stuff. So to next slide, please. So to that point, one of the things that we maintain is a website called tbayandseason.ca. It's an online directory that's meant to make it easy for people to find and buy local food. Promotes all aspects of our regional food systems, from producers, retailers, restaurants, processors, and the goal is to increase the visibility and sales of food in the region for a stronger regional economy. So we have almost 100 vendors on that website. Has these really great maps where you can see where everything's available, and it includes videos where local chefs will prepare simple recipes with local ingredients that updates every month. So we see what is in season and what you can do with it. And so building on that success, we've been part of a 3-year Northern Ontario-wide project on local and regional food procurement. We're in our 2nd year right now. We were brought onto this as a regional expert because of this really great work that's happened in this region on procurement. And so the local food success story was Pioneer Ridge Long-Term Care Facility. They invest just about 18% of their budget, which is about $250,000 of City of Thunder Bay municipal tax dollars that goes directly back to about 15 regional food producers, which is amazing. And so the goal of this project and many of the other ones is to support food producers who want to get into the wholesale market or want to expand their reach. This was the focus of the recent Bridging the Gap event that we co-hosted with a number of organizations and institutions. And that brought together producers and procurers in the region to really see or to identify what changes need to be made to support this growth. And so excitingly out of this, this has led to some connections with some more institutional procurers who are really interested in working towards a procurement mandate or policy for the region that can focus on trying to get us to a benchmark of regional food support. And that'll also tie into some changes to TBA and Season to make it easier for folks to make these changes, whether that's a wholesale portal or whatever that looks like. Thanks.
Another keystone project of ours is the Emergency Food Plan. We've been working on this collaborative community level initiative since 2020, and it was officially ratified in November of 2023, making it the first of its kind at a municipal level in Canada, which is very exciting work. The purpose of our emergency food plan is to coordinate a civil society response that addresses food access challenges and associated impacts on health and well-being during local level emergency events that utilizes a modified incident management system. The scope of the plan is to address medium or high level impacts from emergencies that impact a community's ability to bring food in, distribute it fairly, and or ensure safe preparation and consumption for larger subsets of the population, with a particular focus on those who are impacted by chronic food insecurity. We've got some pretty important key stakeholders in this work. So you can see the 11 logos down at the bottom are who we refer to as our organizational representatives or our primary partners. And we also have municipal emergency control group representatives. So the city has been a longtime partner. The City of Thunder Bay has been a longtime partner of this project, but it has the plan has remained separate from the City of Thunder Bay's emergency plan. This is a civil society plan. It is not a part of the city. On the right-hand side, you can see our response structure. So this uses IMS principles, but it has been modified to fit what is needed in a food response. And it also brings in, on the exterior side of that, you can see that it brings in the support of groups like the Food Access Coalition as local partners, regional partners, and other jurisdictions, as well as local producers. So this plan came out of the emergency response to the COVID-19 pandemic with the goal of having some plan in place in the future rather than nothing. And now that we have a functional plan in place and a great and active table of folks that keep this moving forward, we're able to act on some of the gaps that have been identified since day one, one of which is connecting with all of you to share a little bit about what this can do. So a food response in an emergency provides one collaborative table for a coordinated approach, provides access to barrier-free food for all who need it during an emergency, provides social equity in food access, and it supports the return of regular chronic food insecurity programs as quickly as possible. We also feel that partnerships with rural municipalities and townships with the EFP could look like support from all of you to request support from us if we have an activated EFP response. So if there was an emergency that was also impacting Oliver Pepunge. You could send a representative to our Food Access Coalition. That's a group that meets quarterly for updates on what's going on in the food access world. You're welcome to participate in our annual tabletop exercise, sending your own CEMC to that. We would love to be invited to participate in your annual tabletop exercise. I was invited to ConMes this year, which was really great to help build that. And you can also request support from us to build emergency food planning into your own emergency plan if that's something that you're interested in.
So going forward, our biggest ongoing focus is this incorporation. This also involves shifting our identity to better capture our role as a connector and advocate for equitable and sustainable food systems across Northwestern Ontario. This process is going to strengthen our ability to collaborate with partners like yourselves, give us the governance structure to help us secure additional funding to build capacity and deliver meaningful outcomes. And then the shift also aligns with our commitment to regional priorities. So it will create pathways to collaboration, ensuring that rural voices remain central to decision-making and planning. As Courtney said, most of the food is grown in these areas. So we'd really appreciate hearing feedback from you all on how we can move forward in a way that includes you all as key partners. Looking forward, I'm also excited to say that I'll be representing our region at a Global Food Sovereignty Summit in the fall. Some of the details are still under wraps, but this work is going to directly inform our updated strategic plan that we'll be working on throughout 2025. And then input from you and your constituents is really going to help us connect the strengths and needs of this region to some of the global conversations around food resilience and equity.
And then from the emergency food plan lens, we're going to be completing our local food access infrastructure inventory, which just really gives us a sense of the resources that we're working with locally. We'll be conducting an updated hazard identification and risk assessment for the area in relation to food. And we are working on establishing an emergency food fund through the Thunder Bay Community Foundation as a place to host collaborative funding for this kind of work. And we'll also be continuing on with our education and awareness campaigns across a host of food system issues that are always open to the public and everyone who's a part of our network. And our ongoing network building across the emergency food plan and the food strategy as a whole, which we hope includes all of you as well.
So thank you all for your time and attention. We hope this shows that we built an incredible amount of momentum in the region around food-based social and economic development. And so we ask for your continued support to champion and collaborate with us on sustainable agri-food projects, partnerships, and policies, like some of which we've mentioned, and to continue providing the food strategy with financial and relational support to keep this work moving forward. The seed funds that you have provided in the past and hopefully continue to are critical to our work. We use these to support a coordinator who can then apply for additional project funds to move this further. Our contact information is on the slides. If you have follow-ups, we're happy to answer any questions. We also have a brief survey in the package that we would love to have 1 or 1 million answers to. Yeah, thank you. Merci, miigwech.
Thank you. Is there any questions of council in regards to our presenters? Thank you for your presentation. Wayne?
Is the survey to be filled in by individuals, or do you looking for one from the municipality itself, or it's just individuals? Or
I think initially we were thinking if if we can have a conversation now, that's great. But if there could be a survey on behalf of the council, or there's a lot of those questions about overarching priorities, or if there's Like I think one of the questions is if there's any changes to policies or planning that could impact food system development. There are some other surveys that we're hoping to circulate on more of an individual level on what people want to see. But this one I think is a bit more of like, what kind of institutional supports or gaps or processing things that impact things like the official plan or, land use planning.
Okay, well, I think this evening, because we had a longer meeting, we'll leave this for now.
Yes.
But it does say it's for rural municipal council, so I
Mhm.
think if we could bring this back to our meeting in January, we as a council can answer these together and they can be submitted by Wayne to your,
Yeah, that would
To
be
you.
great. We
Is that
figured
okay?
it's a bit more flexible that way, so they
Yes.
can answer when there's time.
Yes, okay, we would appreciate if you would allow that, and then we will get back to you in January.
Of course.
Okay, is there any other questions that anyone in council had for regards to the presentation? I really appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much for all the work you do for our rural food producers and dairy producers and meat and eggs and everything else that comes out of our
No
municipality.
shortage of food.
Yes, it's nice to know that they're being looked at and perhaps being made more useful to the local residents. So thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
for having us.
Thank you. Okay, we will begin with next item we have is the resolution moved and seconded to approve the council 2025 operating and capital budget meeting, which was held on November the 25th. Were there any errors or omissions on that report? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Was any discussion on those minutes, or perhaps those discussions can be held until next Monday when we do our budget further? Delve into it further next Monday? Okay.
About their packages?
Yes, we do. We have it here to take with us and read. Okay, next we have a resolution moved and seconded to approve the council meeting minutes that were held on November the 27th. Were there any errors or omissions? All in favor of the minutes as presented? Opposed? Carried. Any discussion on any minutes, any items on those minutes? If there's something you'd like to bring forth to discuss? As there is none, the next item we have, oops, I'm sorry, Councillor Viss.
Yes, Mayor Lucy, I brought that up there on the item brought forward, whether CCAN's located in private property or assessed or not. I took a quick run and I could find over 30 whether CCANs or unlicensed trailer used for storage. And I'm wondering if at the beginning of the year we could sometimes start to look at something. There may be nothing, but there may be something. I think somebody told me at this time, if there's a 3-month, it is just for a temporary, but these here have been there. They got stairs going up to some of them already. So I just think something I don't want to forget this. I think there may be nothing. The problem may say you can't assess it, but let's take a look at it because people are making use of this now. And so if we have a temporary, well, then use the temporary or something. Just something I don't want to forget about. That's all.
Get a report from
Yeah,
administration.
if there's
in the new
something
year.
at all, if the planning can find out the problem, it allows us to assess it or how, what, where or something, how do we control that? Because they're just growing by the numbers now.
Mhm. And from the treasurer?
Generally speaking, the CCANs are not assessed. However, in properties where there are numerous CCANs that appear to be on permanent concrete pads, I have been in contact with MPAC and have asked MPAC to review them and assess them as such. And I have not received an answer yet from MPAC as to how they plan to treat those. There's a big example nearby that
Well, I appreciate that, but like I said, it's not a major item, okay? I don't want you to stop all work to do this, but I think don't let that fall off the radar and just take a look at it.
No, MPAC has started the process back in the summer,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
several months ago. So
Okay, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. With regard to the new business, it says it was noted that members of council receive inquiries from residents and they're told to contact the municipal office and the department responsible. It was my understanding that if we each got an email, same email from a resident, that it was the mayor that was going to be responding to them rather than having the people contact the office or the department. Am
What I
correct in
do,
that?
what I do, if I note that a counselor has received that
Mhm.
note, letter or concern, I thank them for sending us the concern and I forward it to the CAO and the manager of that department.
Okay.
They will take care of the problem. But I let the resident know that, thank you for your email, and I am forwarding it to the administration to respond.
And one further question with regard to the road safety sign for vulnerable children, will we be responding to that, or will that then fall under the sign bylaw, which is under the jurisdiction of the Director of Operations? We have indicated that we will get a report from the administration and they will bring it back to us when they are wished to. Okay.
Okay, the roads department will, or Director of Operations will come back to us with a report on that. All righty. Any other items for discussion? Okay, the next one is a resolution moved and seconded in regards to the official plan amendment number 6. We have indicated that we will not be passing that resolution at this time, that we will be getting further information before that comes forward, I believe.
The agent offered further information that he wants to see in the
That's right,
word, so
added
a report will be prepared for,
January or February.
right, yes.
Okay, all right. So this will be deferred as they have indicated they want another sentence or two added to the amendment. The next one is the zoning bylaw amendment. Again, there was some confusion in regards to that, and I do think that council should take an opportunity to look into this rather than pass the resolution at this time. If council feels, are you ready to discuss it? It's been moved and seconded. Okay, if you're not,
I'm not.
all righty, so we can discuss this. This one is to permit a mobile home in the rural area. So we don't get confused because they were kind of very close together. So, yes,
Notwithstanding, there was obviously some confusion at the public meeting. I think it's pretty clear what the recommendation is in this report. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't, but yeah, I don't feel that report was changed by any of the outcome of the public meeting.
okay. So I have a resolution. I shall read it. It's been moved and seconded that application ZBLA 11-2024, which is Rosengrens, to permit a mobile home in the rural zone be refused as it is not in compliance with the municipality of Oliver Papoon's official plan and zoning bylaw. As per report 2024.229. Any further discussion? Yes.
I just have a question for clarification, that if the official plan amendment was approved as presented this evening, or when it does get approved, then could the applicant then come back to us with this application? Because we were going to allow for smaller homes,
No, this is a mobile home. It's not a smaller home.
so it's strictly,
This resolution is only to do with the mobile
Mobile.
home. We have to be
And
very
that's-
clear on that.
Kept coming.
yes, exactly, so that's why I thought,
Just a
thank you.
mobile home. That's all we're
That's
talking about at
All
this
right.
point, okay?
Yeah.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor of the refusal? Opposed? It's been carried. And then we have the application in regards to rezoning the 2 parcels from open space to rural. I believe when we had the discussion, we all wanted to defer it until the MTO came back to a comment with us. So we will defer that one to a later date in the new year. We have a report number 2024, which is removing the holding zone from HI-004. It's on page 68. And the resolution has been moved and seconded that there is a comment in regards to holding. If you would like to make a comment on that or make it discussion on this removal of the holding zone?
Sure. So back in 2016, council had passed a bylaw where it appears that the owners at the time, being True Grit, had applied to allow a recycling facility, waste facility, and it was conditionally approved without being the holding symbol until such time as they had an active ECA that they could present to council. It likely got sort of forgotten. There was a change of hands. It is Recycle West now, and our zoning bylaw, based on housekeeping amendments that took place earlier this year, does now allow recycling facilities under that zone. But the owners did provide us with a copy of their current ECA, so that hold symbol can be cleaned up and removed.
Okay.
Okay. Everyone is clear on that? Okay, so the resolution has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have two applications for a committee of adjustment. Requesting a comment from council. The first one is in regards to Michael and Coral Tomac. It's on page 79. Pages are a little off. Page 68 to, 69 to 78. So any comments or concerns on this application? That will go to Committee of Adjustment. Our comment is no concerns? Councillor Vitt?
No, I have no concerns. I think when I look at the application here, it appears to me the larger area is going to be used for agriculture, and I think that the only farmer probably is going to look at trying to, that's what it appears to me. I don't know for sure, but it appears so. I have no problem with it.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. That one portion that he's retaining, that wouldn't have to be rezoned to residential?
No,
It's zone rural that allows
Okay.
residential.
Okay.
It's rural. Okay, so we do have a resolution that's been moved in second. Oh, no, sorry, we do have a resolution. And it indicates that the council's comments are as follows. No comment? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the second one we have is on behalf of David and Susan Maslicki, and this property is on Wilderness Road. They are looking for a severance as well. Yes.
Two questions. So is this in the significant agriculture zone? And second question, how many splits have been on this lot already?
So, sorry, it's in the general agricultural zone. They did a previous severance back in 2023, but that's the only one that's happened since 2017. So they are entitled to this last additional severance.
Any further discussion?
Just a comment that no objection, but I have a problem that prime agricultural land in there, and I looked at that, and there's agriculture around the whole thing around there, and you're gonna put two houses right in the middle of agriculture. And we've always said sometimes we gotta protect agriculture. There is dust, there's smell, there's operational all hours of the day or night, and sometimes it creates a problem which comes back to council. But is that reasonable? I don't know. And just a concern, a little bit of a concern that.
I believe there is one house on the retained lot.
Yes.
Yes, so it would mean one more house there, yeah. Is it agricultural, being used for agricultural purposes? I think not that land, no. It's all trees, I believe.
All right.
Yeah. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. There does appear to be wetland, significant groundwater recharge area, or no, perhaps just at the bottom end on the development constraint map of the official plan. It does indicate that looks pretty wet. So I'm just wondering, there wasn't
Well, the Conservation Authority would send comment to Committee of Adjustment.
okay.
Cute. So is there any concern? No comments? Okay, so we have a resolution moved and seconded with no comments in regards to this application. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Was there anything further from the planning department? No, just the building report? Okay. Yeah, The next item we have is the bylaw enforcement report from our bylaw enforcement officer, who's not here this evening, but if there's any concerns, then or questions in regards to the report, I'm sure they can be passed on. Councillor Peacock?
Thanks again. With regard to the dogs at large, are those people that the bylaw enforcement officer approaches with regard to complaints of dogs at large, are they required to get a dog license or encouraged, or does he check to see if they have one? Just wondering we have so many dogs that aren't licensed within the municipality, so just wondering if he is able to check that to see if they do have the tags with the complaint.
We can certainly pass that question on to him, and I'm sure he will let administration know what the answer is. Yes.
Just a current update in regards to bylaw. Larry was quite busy today handing out yellow letters for people that were plowing improperly across the public roadway, just so you're aware.
Yes, I know. I went over a few of those hard edges. So if you get a call from a resident, you'll know what that means.
So through the chair, we went with a different color than last year, but they are bright. They go in the mailbox or taped to the door if the resident isn't home.
Okay. Thank you. It's true. Okay. All righty, and then we have the building report. As of November 2024, we've hit the over $17.5 million worth of construction this year. So it's a little bit less than last year, but it certainly is nice to see that kind of construction in the area. It'll help with tax time. Any comments on the building report? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just a question, perhaps it's for the Director of Operations. When we were on road inspection, permit on page 84, it is number 9223. At that point, you indicated there's a barn dominium when we were on the road inspection. Not that one, a different one? Okay, it was my understanding there was a structure on Hannah Road when we were going through there.
There is a structure, but there's no occupancy.
Okay. Okay. And one other clarification, there is a permit, there are two permits for properties on Lederman. One says 16 Lederman, the other says 18 Lederman, but I believe they're both the same property with the same roll number. So just a correction in that. One permit is number 36. And the other one is the residence on that same parcel. So just a correction on the permit report, and that's 16, number 1624. Please and thank you. And also with regard to the building permit tracker, did we get anywhere with those permits that are still outstanding, that are pending pickup from the beginning of the year? As well as the other ones that are pending issuance, we're getting on in the year, and if the permits haven't been issued, then
Nothing will
is there
happen.
construction?
Nothing will happen.
But who checks that?
Our planning department will.
Okay.
Okay. All righty. Okay. The next item we have is, I believe that was it for planning department. Thank you very much. Go home and have a hot toddy. Try to get rid of the cough. We have fire and emergency services. We have the minutes, page 99 to 102. Was there any questions of the fire chief in regards to those minutes? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Not so much with regard to the minutes, but with regard to Voyant Alert. I just wondered if I had suggested to Wayne that with the notice that went out on our website the other day, for road maintenance. Was that something as far as the significant weather event that we had or were scheduled to have? Would that be something that would go on a Voyant Alert call out, or would we continue to would it be something that would then nag people, oh, it's them again, and yeah, I know kind of thing?
So yes, potentially it's something that'll go through Voyant Alert. We're gonna talk about that in the new year with Wayne and myself and set up a process for those significant weather events and whether it is something that goes through a Voyant Alert notification.
Okay,
Yeah, just to add to that, the one person that works for me that has the Voyant Alert received 22 notifications throughout the course of 36 hours in regards to weather on this past weekend.
I'm watching it. Does he live here?
I don't know what kind of notifications do they,
Weather.
about weather.
but what do you mean by notification?
Well, every time Environment Canada put
Okay.
together, Environment Canada Weather Network, there was 22 notifications that she said came through on Voyant Alert. So I'm not on Voyant Alert.
I have it on my phone, but I didn't get anything.
So I
I
don't-
got what.
I don't know if
sent
it's
out
based
by
on where they
administration.
live or what, but there was 22 notifications when she got to work on Monday.
Oh, my goodness.
So there in the Voyant Alert, for the administrators, there is a notification when other industries, 511, Weather Network, all these other ones come through. So we get a notification saying that there's something going out. It doesn't go out to the public. It's only to the administrators.
Mm. Okay. All righty. We now have firefighter compensation for certification training. We have a resolution that's been moved and seconded in regards to that for certification training, page 103 to 105. Any questions of the fire chief in regards to that resolution? It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, carried. Then we have our draft community wildlife fire protection plan. It was a separate item that we received in our package. So in regards to Fire Smart, there is no resolution, but it is here for discussion or questions if anyone has a question in regards that fire chief is here.
So if I could just speak to it, so there's quite a lot in that plan. So the intent was to get it to you guys here now to give some time to read through it over the Christmas break in case you're bored. And then follow it up with a meeting for discussion in January to get into depth on it.
Okay, thank you. All righty, and then we have the draft fire department enabling bylaw on page 107. There is a resolution, no, there's none. Pages are a little off, so this is 106, and it's for information only. So this is an enabling bylaw if you want to speak on that.
Yeah, so again, this is the product of the shared services project that's going through the LRMC there. And again, this is just for an opportunity for you guys to look at it over Christmas with a meeting in January to discuss further on it. This one, I'd almost look at doing a special meeting for it so that there's an opportunity to discuss what we're doing in this enabling bylaw.
Okay, yeah, it's quite a lot of pages there, a lot of things to read.
And it's quite a bit different from our current enabling bylaw, specifically the level of service and the training.
That wouldn't be a joint meeting like we had before, so that wouldn't be with all municipalities. It would strictly be ours as a.
So at this point, the municipalities that are working on this with the fire chiefs, we're each going back to our councils to introduce it and talk about it. And there has been some talk about having another joint meeting with municipalities and fire chiefs and councils to discuss it further, much like the one that was a year and a half ago or so.
Okay, that would be in the new year after we've discussed it as a council. Counselor Viss?
Yeah, I looked briefly through that and then I said, whoa, how do I interpret this and how do I comprehend this? I need somebody, and I'm looking at the fire chief or the fire department say, well, this is what we really should be looking at. This is very well, works very well for our fire department. However it is, like for me to read this and, where do I go with that?
That was suggested
So
by
I
the
think
fire
that's,
chief.
we need to have, like, when we have a meeting, we need to have the fire department saying what is really worthwhile and what something is maybe secondary, so we get some idea where to go with Scott.
Absolutely. This is a big document. There's a lot in it. The intent was just to have you guys a chance to peruse through it and think about it. And then that's why I'm almost suggesting a special meeting so that we can go through and discuss the intent and where this is actually going from the emergency services.
Well, I would imagine in January, we will be approving our budget, so it may possibly work out that could all be done on one day, the special meeting. Okay, and we'll leave it up to the administration. Okay, now we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded to purchase a trailer mounted steamer to a sling choker. I better be careful of gets on this one. Okay, and there has been, there's an exceedance of the original thought or cost, which will be funded by the working fund reserve. So the resolution has been moved and seconded. It's open for discussion. Councillor Viss?
Yeah, I just have a question and I don't know if I'm right with numbers here or not. But if you're looking at the 325 gallon tank, okay? It's 8 gallons per minute, 500,000 BTUs, okay? At 3,000 PSI. To heat that up to that point and take that and take those numbers and divide them out, and then you go to the 8,000 BTU with a 740 gallon tank, it's going to take longer to heat that than it did if you have the other one.
Through the chair and a straight line numbers, he's absolutely correct, but it's a non-demand system.
Okay.
We don't heat the 7,000.
So I looked at that and I said, well, why would we do that?
It's a
Because it's going to take that much longer before we get it. And the point was, so you have, yeah, okay.
So
All right.
heated, only what you
Hallelujah.
require is heated.
Okay, good.
But
Thank
you
you.
will
I
be
didn't-
carrying a larger volume of water so
I
that you
see
can
that.
do more. Right, okay.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion on that resolution?
Cool.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Then we have a revision to bylaw 01-2024, which is the council pay and municipal tax travel expenses for 2025. It begins on page 109, and then it shows our bylaw. And I believe the highlighted amounts are what has been changed in the bylaw. So is there any discussion or concerns on any of we don't have a resolution to prove it. This is just for discussion at this time, right?
Yeah, that's correct. If council has any questions about things in here they'd like to see revised, that's what we're doing today, and then we can bring it back first meeting in January to get it done. I'd like to just draw your attention to the new section number 11 there. What that's about is those official type duties that a mayor, or I should say a head of council does in the Municipal Act. Sometimes those events are not, you don't get any advance warning, you end up going. But the idea behind this bylaw here is that anybody on council gets approval from council to get paid. So either you do that beforehand or after, whatever it is. But we just slip that in there to take care of that point.
Okay.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. Just for clarification again, Committee of Adjustment, do they not get mileage when they do their inspections, or is it just the $100? It was my understanding they also got mileage. If we could just check into that. That's number 6 on the main page of the bylaw.
You're right.
We'll have to check into that.
Thank you.
Well,
Yes.
isn't that on number 13? On page 112? The members of the committees, when required to use their own vehicles, says here, perform duties directly connected to their official roles.
You're right. Thank you.
the members of the committee, so that's takes care of the,
Yes, if they're not to attend the meeting itself, but if they're going out to look at a piece of land, yes. So that's covered.
Yeah.
Anything else, questions? Okay, anything to be brought to administration, they'll bring it back to us in January for approval. Okay. We have a special meeting date for the Thunder Bay Police Services Board Strategic Plan Consultation. We have the resolution. It's been moved and seconded for the date of January the 6th at 9 a.m. here in the municipal, in our chambers. Any problem with that? Okay,
Yep.
9 o'clock?
Give them those days.
Yes.
I just wanted to add, we asked them if there's any material to distribute, and they said they indicated they would get us something by the end of last week, but that didn't happen, so we'll see whether there's something to distribute to council prior to this meeting.
Okay. And then next we have the 2025 racetrack schedule for our information. If there's anything there, there's just so that we have a copy of that, and I'm sure it has been sent to the church as well. All righty, and then we have a revision of bylaw 852-2015, the waste management report in regards to the landfill punch card system, and our operations managers here. If you have any questions, I'm sure he can answer those for you.
Yes, I did, but I can't find it. Wait.
So it starts on page 120.
Okay, I just briefly, corrugated cardboard is not going to be accepted anymore? Is that what it said? Is that, I thought I found? Shall be prohibited, yes.
What,
Corrugated cardboard, box board, what do we do with them?
what page is that on?
We're at page 135.
Okay.
And it says, and tires, well, we should take tires, we get $1 a piece for each tire. So we might as well gather them up instead of picking them off the side road. But you see that, and then it also, I seen somewhere about some kind of paper, fine paper. Okay. Household fine paper, no.
Sorry, I don't see on page 135 the cardboard thing you were talking about.
136 in our book.
Oh, 135 in mine.
But I believe that's because they are to go to the recycle.
Yes, so that's what speaks to what goes into the landfill site. It was prohibited from landfill as corrugated cardboard.
Well, I see, we put it still in the box. Okay, I misunderstood that. I said, okay, we couldn't have that. Then the next is that fine paper. Can you explain that to me? And then you're going to page 137. I don't know what page you're on, but that's where I am.
So
To
fine,
confuse you, that's all.
so fine paper was a definition back in the day that we don't discern between fine paper and, but like the paper mills do, but we don't.
Okay, but like newspapers and stuff, that's not considered fine. Okay, I could have thought, hi, we're gonna be burning all over the place. Okay.
So as we go to page 137, then yes, we are under contract with Ontario Tire Stewardship to collect as a collection site, mounted or non-mounted.
Okay.
So we will take those, and that was a decision made by council 20 years ago when they didn't want them on every ditch in the side road in the municipality. So that still exists. And what was your other question, Councillor Viss?
Fine paper.
Fine paper, that's
Right on
all you
that,
said, that's fine, then, yeah. So everything is good, okay.
Okay, any other, Councillor Peacock?
Thank you again. With regard to the preparation and implementation, 122 or thereabouts. It's the last page of Wayne's report. It says this year's supply of cards, approximately 15,000, will cost under 5,000. We have $3,000 budgeted for. Is that a question for now or for Monday? Because should we change that 3,000 to 5,000 in the landfill budget?
The initial estimate was 3,000. If it's gone up, we can certainly adjust it in the next draft of the budget. However, we will also, I believe, be purchasing these before the end of the well, that we're close now. We perhaps will not be purchasing before the end of the year.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Yes, Councillor Campbell.
So in anticipation of rolling this out, will it require any additional staff or staff time at the landfill sites?
Through the chair, no. In fact, it's going to, we believe, eliminate some of the staff time involved with the current way we handle landfill, i.e. the punch cards are going to go out to the taxpayers. They are responsible for it. There'd be no more authorized user cards. They all go to the taxpayers only. So the plethora of people coming in and can you add Joe Blow to my card at the front desk is going to disappear because it's based on a tax bill. The upfront cost in regards to getting the cards mailed out will be labor intensive, obviously, but then they're out for the year.
Mhm.
And then it becomes a simple look out the door. The trailer's got 2 axles, it's over 12 feet long, 3 punches, and you're on your way. So the day-to-day operations of the landfill being open will be the same. We may have a couple lineups to sort out a few bad apples, which is what the intent of this is. But administratively, we should be saving some administrative time on this task.
Perfect. And as indicated, the January would be a learning curve and February is when you're going to start this?
Yes, so through the chair, you're going to see an ad in the January Oliver Papoon's Press. So we've got a draft ready to go based on this meeting here tonight. So we'll get that in for the January 1st. We'll again roll it out on February 1st in the Oliver Papoon's Press. And then we are doing a special mail out. I believe it was second week of February, I believe is when we had planned. We looked at staff that was available to roll that out at that time. And then we want to start playing with it on site on March the 1st. For that final month leading up to an April 1st rollout, which is when the bylaw will be enacted and will be good to
So
go.
now you will not, then you will not have to
Sorry,
say your
March the
number, you just show the card and they'll punch it.
Yep.
And you get the card back.
Yep, we still reserve the right to, the bylaw did not delete, checking your IDs and checking your validity of where you live. And we still reserve the right to go through the loads, based on what we've accept and not accept.
Okay. Councillor Viss and then Councillor Peacock.
Okay, just one question on, and I think I understand it's okay, pickup of a small trailer like my half ton. And it says residential, less than 5 bags. Well, when I get to my half ton, I have one of those tote bags and I have 5 families in there, you see. So they're not gonna climb in my tote bag, I'm sure, because some stuff comes out of the barn and they may not like that in there. And that wouldn't be a problem, though, it's just my point.
Through the chair, as discussed at the beginning of this whole process over a year and a half ago, when we talked about volumes, we're not talking about we're talking about times you come as a resident.
Okay.
All right, so we've isolated the load sizes to replicate what we believe to be everyday users. We do appreciate the fact that Councillor Viss shows up and his pickup truck is completely stuffed to the rafters with garbage from 5 different
Untold
properties.
Only one bag.
Yeah, it's only one bag, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So we do
Get the cards from 5 different.
we do appreciate that, but my question would be is how many pieces of parcels of land does Councillor Viss own? Because
Yes.
he's going to be getting about 9
Many.
he's going to be getting 9 envelopes full of punch cards that he can use at his discretion.
Yeah, I know, we're not gonna overdo that, I know that, but I just want, as long as, I'd like to, hate to put staff in a spot when they come with that tote bag and say, well, what do you got in there? Well, it's 5 families, they're all in there, and the reason I use the tote bag, nothing leaves off the truck when I'm driving down the road, because I tie the top and it's sealed, see?
Through the chair, that's what's key to this whole thing is that March will sort through these issues.
Yes.
That's the intent, is March will sort through these issues. We'll continue with our spring week cleanup in April or May or whatever it suits. We'll do enforcement blitzes in regards to where you live. We won't be looking at cards at that time, but we'll be looking where you live.
Mhm.
And we fully anticipate that, yes, there's going to be some hiccups. We're trying to deal with it during March and get everybody on board. That's 8 visits to the dump in March for each resident that's available to them. And we'll sort through this with them. We're going to punch the cards in March. They don't count. We're going to punch the cards and do some education on site.
Good, okay.
Perfect. Councillor Peacock.
Will this require additional staff at the landfill? No? You'll still have 2 people there
Yep.
all the time?
Not all the time, no.
No.
Not required.
So it's an honor system to the,
There's always an attendant at the shack.
yes.
Always, yes.
And just to note, we did have a gentleman in here a couple of months ago with regard to picking up and using our landfill site to dump the materials. He has a business that he wanted to do that.
I think a response was sent to him indicating he's more than welcome to go and find customers himself, but he's not going to be working through this
Oh, that,
municipality.
okay.
Because I did see an advertising for him to, for all the Rip Pooch people to contact him.
Yes.
Should he wish to.
Directly
that,
to
yeah.
him.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, yep.
Okay. Any further questions about the punch cards? No? Okay. Then we have a resolution moved and seconded in regards to awarding the SBCA radios, purchasing 15 of them. It was brought up at the last meeting. We may get a better price if we ordered a few more. And I believe that's what this was. So, okay, so the resolution is been moved and seconded. Any comment, any questions, any concerns?
Save $31 per unit.
$31 per unit is 31 times 15.
Right.
That's right. Sorry about that. I should have mentioned it when we were doing the minutes earlier and from last meeting. And I don't think it was noted in here that it says that we had originally defeated the resolution for the purchase of 6 radios, but then it didn't say that it was then brought back to have look at ordering 12. So I'm just wondering if
that was done verbally.
Okay.
No resolution was passed to tell him to go and get
Okay.
travel. This
Okay.
was just
looking for clarification.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, it's all
Okay.
verbal. So again, we have a resolution that's been moved and seconded. Yes,
So,
John.
and this does take into the budget for next year as well.
Yes.
And it was originally for 6 and 6, but we're able to get 15 under the budget amount. So that's where the numbers are different.
Perfect. I'm just going to suggest that you don't think that applies to fire trucks.
Not.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Okay, we have the resolutions moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have reports from committees, which is the library, the museum, the health unit, DSAB. If there's anyone wants to make any comment on any of those? We have bylaws, the official plan amendment number 1, that one was deferred. We have the bylaw in regards to ZBLA 13-2024 / Tom Clement, which was also deferred, waiting for an MTO response. We have a bylaw in regards to removing the holding symbol. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a military service recognition book. It was asked that would be brought forward from our last meeting. The resolution has been moved and seconded for a half-page black and white in their book. Any discussion? Yes.
If we could also include in that resolution, should it be approved as to where the funds are to come from? As far as a budget line item.
Oh, that administration will take care of that. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we had also this one in regards to redistribution of the land LTT tax and the GST to municipalities. We had asked the land transfer tax and the GST be split with us. It was asked that it be coming back to us, so the resolution's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And then we had also at the last meeting asked that the ambulance shortages and healthcare system issues resolution be brought back to us for a vote. We were in favor of it. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Amendments to the access soil regulation was in here, the inclusion of the private motor coach and transit funding, and the fees for use of municipal property by natural gas distributors. I don't know if you want any of those to come back to us. Notice of study commencement in regards to the detailed design and class environmental assessment. And that's east of Oliver Road to Junction Highway 1117 at Chappaqua Corners. And that's just the beginning. Yes.
Yeah, through the chair, Pole Line Road is the limit of MTO easement through there.
And then you start from there on. Thank you.
As soon as it gets wider, like just on the west side of Pole Line where it gets wider.
Further, one question further on the ambulance shortage in healthcare system. Should we not be supporting that?
Yes, that's the one that we had.
Okay.
Yeah, ambulance shortage and healthcare system issues. We did approve that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hold on there, okay.
Yeah. And then the modernization of wildlife fire management in Ontario, we had a letter come on that. A message from Chief Darcy Fleury, this is the Thunder Bay Police Department and Lakewood Conservation budget, and the AMO pre-budget submission of 2025. If you note the Conservation Authority, you will see what kind of increase we have compared to the other areas, including the city of Thunder Bay. Ours went up quite a bit. Okay, any new business? I will ask Councillor Viss.
Yes, I do. I gotta find it. You ready? Where are you?
Okay, Councillor Campoff, did you have any
Oh,
new
yeah.
business? Oh, you have it? Okay.
I got a call from Ron and Beth Everett. They live on 49 Plain Avenue in Monroe in the village. He's in and out to the hospital all the time, and she's a senior lady. And she was wondering if there's anything we could do to put it out in the newsletter or somehow on the website or something, that somebody could come and help shovel her deck. The reason being, the first one she comes out, the second is her second outlet if there should be a fire that she can't get out, so that deck has to be cleaned. And I said, I would bring it up to council, maybe we put it on the website anyway. She's willing to pay somebody, maybe some young people that are willing to shovel it out. How big it is, I have no idea. But anyway, so it's whatever this council thinks. But anyway, these people, they should have access to waste in and out of our house.
Yes.
If we could do a little bit for them, that'd be much appreciated for them people.
I suggested to her that it does go on our website that
Oh.
they're looking for someone and give their phone number and there might be someone who's looking for volunteer hours,
Yes.
a student or something that would shovel that off. Yeah.
And the other one I have is from the senior T. Amazing news. The hall was so clean that people couldn't believe it. So thank you, Chris, for whatever you do to those people, but that's the first time in a long time we've heard the same compliments on the hall. So it goes to your staff.
Okay.
And that's all. Merry Christmas to everybody. No, I'll see you on the short.
Yeah. Not yet. You can't get rid of us yet. Okay, Councillor Campoff.
Nothing specific other than just curious if Chris can maybe give us a little synopsis of the challenges he had with the storm earlier this week and the weekend. Because I know I received a bunch of calls. I knew Chris was probably busy enough that he didn't need to hear from a bunch of people, so I didn't pass them on, but at the time, but yeah, I don't know.
So I'll give you the breakdown. We were in weekend mode, so it was one of the employees' weekend to go out. We had a discussion on Friday looking at the forecast how we go. If people noticed, we were out sanding quite a bit Thursday and Friday prior to the storm. We made a decision based on the 4 inches of snow that's coming, even though it meets the minimum maintenance standards to plow. But with the follow-up for rain, we made the decision to absorb the water into the snow instead of bearing off 300 kilometers of road and having a freezing event.
That's right.
So what happened is as the main line was looked after, main line standard, 2 inches, we go. We started at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. We went out, we looked after the main line. When the temperature hit 0 and the rain was about to stop at 2 o'clock, we rolled 4 more trucks out at 1 o'clock and started sanding all the intersections because they were slippery because people were sliding to a stop at the intersections. We then commenced 6 a.m. on Sunday, full rollout, all equipment, full clean for Sunday. We were done by 2 o'clock. Everything was peeled off. Of course, we went out again at 4 o'clock Monday morning to deal with the other 8 to 10 inches that showed up at various areas of the municipality. So the weather event, MTO handled it differently. MTO went and plowed their side roads, plowed their secondary highways. And I will attest to the fact that I had 7 kilometers of a skating rink at 5 kilometers an hour to get home in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday. So in conversations with other municipalities, Shunia did not plow side roads, but they did do a complete snow plowing at 3:30 Saturday afternoon. They started at 3:30. They worked till 1 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. They sanded on Sunday. And then they went out again on Monday and started again as well. So there was various ways to handle it. It's based on traffic flow. And if it was a Monday morning or a Tuesday morning and we had that rain event, it would have been a different idea. But because it was Saturday and we're not dealing with school buses and we're not dealing with commuting traffic to work 9 times out of 10, we made that decision to absorb it, let people drive on it because it was a lot safer to drive on 4 inches of packed snow than it was on the skating rink. Because it would have been a skating rink at 4 in the afternoon when the temperature dropped below 0.
And I think it's happening again this week where the temperatures are going to be above 0.
Yeah, we
30 below Wednesday.
yeah, if you go back through my diary and you look at these events, some of them come with no snow ahead of time. The temperature comes up, you get the rain and you get that snap freeze. I think we've had those discussions in the last 5-7 years. This one in particular, the 4 inches of wet snow was kind of a helpful thing when we made a decision ahead of time to just let it lie. But from an operational standpoint, we will call it when we had it. Sander trucks were all running, and the main line, we actually got lots of compliments in regards to how it was handled.
Yes. Yes, it was very good at our end of town anyway. Okay, anything else? No? Councillor Peacock, any new business?
Thanks to the volunteers, Intola Rink is up and running, ready to go. Get your skates and away you go. So thank you to Councillor Viss for attending the seniors tea. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. And I appreciate you representing us.
You don't know I was there.
Well,
There's nobody else there.
Yes. And with regard to the call that you had from the resident in Murillo, I also received a call and I suggested to them that perhaps they check with Maxine at the library because she often has a group of kids that come by after school and they would be in walking distance of that, as well as put a note up at Valley Foods, obviously not by the mailboxes, but on the bulletin board there and perhaps a suggestion might have an idea there. The other thing that I had was that I had made mention of sightlines improvements required Highway 102 and Town Line Road when we were discussing the Roma applications, but I don't see it mentioned anywhere in the minutes. So I don't know if it's how that process works, but I do have a concern that the sightlines could perhaps at least be looked at, whether it's Director of Operations. I know it's an MTO highway. It's one of those mixed up ones, but anyways, I'd appreciate it having looked at.
So I'll comment on that if you wouldn't mind. I have direct knowledge since I did that road in 2012 in my previous employment. They were widened to the limits that are acceptable by the MTO. There was extra work done in relation to Peter Whittington's concerns at that intersection, Kazusta Road and Mackenzie, all were widened to the maximum property line issues that the MTO has. It is a twisty corner on the east side, there's no doubt, but they're geographically and property lines, there is nothing else that can be done at that particular intersection. It's unfortunate that the speed is what it is on 102 now, but that from a geomatics, there's nothing that can be done to realign that section.
Okay, thank you. All righty. Anything from administration? No, Sean?
Yes, so just a vehicle update, Rescue 96, which is our heavy rescue truck. Has all the extrication tools in it, was parked at Roslyn, has started burning antifreeze to the point where it went to a training session and back and put 4 liters in it. So I've pulled that truck out of service. It is up in Intala, empty right now, and all that equipment has been put on Rescue 33, which is now parked in Roslyn. Rescue 96 is one of the trucks that's getting replaced with the Pumper 93. So the 33 will be a short-term fix until we get that truck in place. And I'm gonna bring a little bit more detailed report to council in the new year with respect to vehicles, because we've got basically 3 vehicles out of service right now.
Okay. Anything from the finance department?
Sure, it's not finance related, but I noticed that when I used to play at Stanley Arena, there used to be rules of the arena. Used to be posted at the top of the stairs on the south side and down at the bottom of the stairs on the north side. They're no longer there. And I'm just thinking that maybe we should put those up so
I
that
remember reading them
people-
once, but I never
that
noticed them.
people, you know, so.
Like, don't let your kids run like
Don't let your
crazy
kids run
people.
wild, no horns and noisemakers, no spitting, no littering, those type of things. So just was wondering if we should maybe look at reposting them.
We can look at that for sure. Anything from roads department? No, or the halls? Okay. Anything from administration? No, no new business. Okay. So we have a resolution to resolve into closed session. It's been moved and seconded, time being 7:36 PM. All in favor? Opposed, carried. We will take a 5-minute break and then go into in camera. On again. I have a resolution moved and seconded to reconvene the council meeting, the time being 8:10 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I have a resolution moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the closed session meeting held on November the 27th as presented. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have a resolution moved and seconded confirming the meeting that we've held this evening. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We now have a resolution adjourning our council meeting, the hour being 8:11 PM. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Pardon? It does